Look, I get it. It's 2026, everyone is busy, nobody's got time for anything. But what if I told you all it takes is three mobility exercises that can take care of practically 95% of your entire body's mobility. These exercises are unique in that they do not just stretch your muscles, but they actually work on your mobility. That means they include strength, they include flexibility, they include coordination, and by the time we're done with this video, every single one of you will be able to do so. I'm not just going to show you those 3 exercises, I'm going to show you how you can progress to get there, irrespective of your current mobility level. So if you're ready, let's gonna have some fun. When it comes to equipment, all you're gonna need is this. If you don't have a yoga block, I hope most of you are literate enough to have at least 1 book at home that you can use instead of this. And if you have 2, that's gonna make it a lot easier. We're basically switching between a full body anterior chain stretch and a full body posterior chain stretch. Now when it comes to progression, this one is the easiest by far. We're gonna start in complete ankle extension. And now this is where the yoga block comes into play. Depending on your mobility, if you cannot sit down comfortably onto your ankle and put pressure on it, elevate your butt on the extended side, depending on how much you need. Heck, if this is not enough, you can add a second one, just like so. This is gonna take most of the pressure off our ankle while still having a nice stretch in our tibialis and this full ankle extension. And over time, you will start reducing elevation step by step as your mobility increases until you can sit down comfortably all the way. With that taken care of, all you need to do is simply extend your arms. And now it's very important here. We want to pull our shoulders up as much as we can to move into scapular elevation, opening up our anterior delts and our pecs by pulling up and back. We're starting in spinal extension, just like so. And then all you need to do is push forward, flex your posterior chain, meaning your glutes and your spinal erectors, and the back side of your leg, your biceps femoris, and start pulling your shoulders back as much as you can. Now, if this is the end of your range of motion, that is absolutely amazing. Don't worry about it. Over time, you should be able to lengthen your hip flexors and your quads and your abdominals and your chest more and more until you're all the way forward. And then when reversing, as we said, push back, sit down on your leg or on your elevation and start folding forward like so. When pushing back, if you need this elevation, and when folding forward, if this is the end of your range of motion, once again, don't worry about it. As long as you're feeling a stretch in your posterior chain here, as well as in your anterior chain here, you're doing everything perfectly. And over time, we will simply reduce this, fold forward a little bit more. Reduce this, fold forward a little bit more. And the same goes for pushing forward over time, step by step by step, until our entire anterior chain is lengthened and our entire posterior chain is lengthened. Now tell me that's not as simple as it gets. Most of you will be familiar with the classic Cossack squat, which is this type of movement, but that's just baby work. We're gonna maximize the mobility we can get from this movement into 2 directions. The first one being forward with a forward fold into either direction of the extended leg, moving all the way up, all the way down, and folding forward once more, moving into a classic deep Cossack squat. And then we're gonna bend backwards into what is basically a pseudo back bridge, just like so, all the way up, all the way down, and just like so. Now, the progression for this one is very linear and very simple to work on. So let's go through it step by step. We're gonna start in a very wide stance and point our feet forward so we have maximum adductor flexibility, which was one of the only muscles we didn't stretch with the last exercise. As you can see, everything is connecting. Level number 1 is starting with short, tiny bends, just like so, until you feel a little bit of a stretch in your adductors and in your hamstrings and the back side of your legs. So you're gonna move left side and right side until over time you're able to, with flat feet, bring your hip all the way down to knee height. That is all the mobility you need for now for this level. So with the next level, instead of keeping our feet flat, we're gonna start elevating our heel, just like so, and sitting down deeper, as deeply as we can. For this, it's very helpful to work with your hands on the floor, just like so. Or what's gonna make it a lot easier still, our book or our yoga block, just like so. Over time, we wanna have not just the flexibility, but also the strength to always move without assistance all the way up and all the way down. And now you will have noticed that instead of keeping our foot flat here, we're turning into external rotation in our hip joint, maximizing the posterior chain stretch. Up like so, down like so, always raising our heel. Now with our next level, we're gonna start the same way, and with our hands on the floor, all we need to do is simply place our knee on the floor, and with our hands still here, we're gonna start pushing downwards as much as we can. Notice that our foot is on the outside of our hip, just like so, lengthening our foot musculature all the way, having maximized knee mobility here, and opening up our hips all the way. Which means that once you have this type of mobility, knee down, compensate as much as you can with your upper body while pushing down slowly and carefully. And if you're feeling any pain, that means you're going too far and you need to dial it back a little bit. So start right here. Push down a little bit, move all the way up, all the way down, and push down a little bit. Over time, you will have both the ankle, knee and hip mobility to sit down all the way. And now we have complete ankle flexion, the opposite of the complete ankle extension we had with the last exercise. Once again, everything fits together. And now all you need to do is fold forward. Start with a very tiny movement, and over time you will have more and more posterior chain flexibility to move down all the way, bringing your upper body closer and closer towards your leg before, once again, helping out a little bit when it comes to strength, like so, carefully sitting down all the way and folding forward once more. And now that you've learned this, you only need 2 more variations to get into the second one we did. Starting out here, we've already learned this, bringing our knee down, and this time instead of pushing backwards, we want to push forward, once again lengthening our anterior chain all the way. Now adding quad flexibility, hip flexor stretch, and lower abdominal flexibility before we move all the way up, all the way down, and push forward once more. It's very important you're flexing your posterior chain. You will move all the way down, flex your posterior chain, and lean back more and more and more, opening up your chest and shoulders as well, and moving the stretch from just your lower abdominals all the way up towards your chest. Because all you need to do now is get into this deep Cossack squat. Our hand is always behind the extended leg, and we're always keeping like 1.5 feet or half a meter in between our knee and our hand. Be careful. The closer your hand is to your leg, the harder this will be and the less mobility will be building. So move out like so. And now you're gonna require a lot of posterior chain strength to push up like so and lengthen your anterior chain all the way and add this spinal twist, spinal rotation, which we didn't have in the last exercise and is very important. Moving forward, once again, hands on the floor, all the way up, all the way down, hand behind the extended leg, arm upward, and push up. Exercise 2, done. Deep squat, starting position, internal and external rotation in both hip joints, and complete rotation in our upper body, and full stretch surrounding our entire spine, our hips, our knees, and our ankles. All the way up, reversing, rolling over our toes, internal rotation, external rotation, upper body, sideways and downwards. All the way up, all the way down. Quickly to the left, quickly up to the right, and back into our starting position. You need to learn how to do internal and external rotation and how to get into a deep squat. If you cannot sit in a deep squat with your heels completely flat, all you need to do is simply elevate your heels, and pretty much irrespective of your lack of ankle mobility, you will be able to get down all the way. With the only variation being if you are on the taller side, all you need to do is simply orient your toes outwards, move into a wider stance, and you'll also be able to sit down all the way into this position. Over time, as you progress with the 2 other exercises, where we have a lot of ankle flexion and extension, you will be able to move these and flatten your feet all the way very comfortably. and then you're basically primed for what we need to do. So from a deep squat, either with your heels raised or with your feet flat, depending on your mobility, all you need to do is start with some internal rotation. Knee right in front of your foot. Stay as upright in your upper body as possible before you reverse. Flatten your feet if possible, and then switch before you reverse. If your heels are not on the floor, it looks something like this. Down, up, and down. This will also help you work a lot on this ankle flexion, which we need to get into a flattened deep squat. With our second exercise in the progression, helping us move more into external hip rotation, pointing our toes outwards, pushing our knees out as much as we can by flexing our glutes on the outside. Now we're gonna bring our knee down carefully and push our hip forward, lengthening our anterior chain, flexing our posterior chain, opening up our knees sideways before we reverse, flatten our feet as much as we can, and do the same thing on the other side. You can even extend here, push forward, hold for a second, reverse, and repeat. And now that we've done this, we can do the 90-90 switch, which is one of the most goated mobility movements for your lower body. Starting with internal rotation, just as we did before, and now moving into ankle extension. And before we do anything else, we're gonna start pushing our hips down until our butt touches the floor, maximizing once again knee mobility. And only when we're sitting down, we're gonna move into external hip rotation by letting our other leg fall into the outside direction. Upper body fully upright. And if you need help to reverse out of this movement, you can move with your hands like so. Help yourself out, because you're gonna require a lot of core strength and hip flexor strength to get back into a deep squat. So, internal rotation, external rotation, flexing here, moving forward, pulling up the externally rotated one first, and then the internally rotated one. All you need to do from now is internal and external, upper body to the side as much as you can, and then you're gonna step by step work your way down over a couple of weeks, a couple of months, heck, a year or two. It doesn't really matter as long as you're working on it and improving bit by bit. And that is very important. Step by step, baby steps is gonna make this a lot more palatable, a lot more easy to progress through. And over time, you will be able to do all of these with ease. So all the way down, all the way up, maximizing our hip flexor stretch, our rotation in our spine, and opening up our chest and shoulders just like so. All the way up and reverse. Now I have a full guide for the 90-90 switch because it's really one of the most amazing mobility exercises. You can check it out here if you need more steps and if you need a little bit more help, but that should basically be it. And there you have it. You can tell me that you don't have time for 3 exercises. Heck, you can do each one of those for a single minute. Twice a day, that's 6 minutes. So work your way up there and your body will thank you, especially the older you become. And if you're someone who doesn't just want to work on all of this stuff by themselves and have to do a lot of thinking and a lot of planning and whatnot, you can check out this video where I simply put a full routine together for you that you can follow every single day, and you never have to think about mobility on your own ever again. With that said, sadly, that's all the time I've left for you today. If you like the video, and subscribe. Come on, we do stuff like that very regularly, which means I'll probably see you soon. So until then, have a good one. Captain Cairo. Peace out.